Dopamine detoxing has changed my life. But unlike what you think, dopamine isn't the problem. Dopamine is the solution to the problem, and in this video, we are going to cover the science behind dopamine detoxing and how you can use it as a tool for change rather than just a challenge. And then we are going to dive in detailed into the protocol itself. First, getting to the science. I'll draw a graph. And if this is dopamine, this is time, what happens to your brain when you go out, consume that entertainment, when you go out, stimulate yourself, when you start scrolling, what happens? Let's see. That's the dopamine level baseline, and dopamine determines your pleasure, your motivation. It's the good stuff. But then what happens is when you go and experience that pleasure, the levels spike, but then it comes down back to the baseline, and because there's only a limited supply of dopamine in the brain, it goes below the baseline. So what do? You spike it again and you spike it again. So the baseline gets lowered. And your sources of stimulations are right here. But then when the baseline is lowered, what do you think happens? Three things happen. One, when compared to all the high stimulations that you have, when you try to do work with a lowered baseline, the work just feels boring. The studying, the skill, the practice, the learning, all of that feels boring. And in the middle, you just lose interest, you just lose motivation. How high is the baseline dopamine, that determines how motivated you are with your own life. And what else happens is to just realize this. When you end up cutting out the sources of stimulation, your brain adapts to it. And in the previous case scenario, when you weren't even able to focus on the activities that you care about, now what happens? Just realize that you didn't even need the stimulation to exist with yourself in the first place. So this is when you really start to think about it. What was the cost of something that I didn't need to make myself happy? What was the cost? Realize that if you had spent the past 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, at least a small percentage of the time, energy, focus and attention that you gave the sources of entertainment, you would have not only made progress, but you would have ended up getting results and achieving in those areas of life. You would have probably, in those period of 3 years, you would be able to speak that new language. You would have built some games. You would have been able to do some cool stuff in the areas of life that you want. And that is the sacrifice that you are making. Just because you couldn't do anything about this. And that needs to stop. And that's why we need to do the dopamine detox. As a community, we ourselves, and especially our generation, we need to do the dopamine detox. But then here's what happens. Because of eventually my influence, I've had friends that have gone out and did the dopamine detox. And I've made the same mistake. They do it for the period of 7 days, okay, fine. But then after the 7 days, they just return to their old self. They come back onto the sources of entertainment, the sources of stimulation that they cut out, and they don't end up changing. So what is the difference between the people who do this as a challenge, this is just a 7-day challenge, and the people who end up using it as a tool for change? Well, here are the key principles. The first thing, when you go into the dopamine detox, when you go and cut out everything, what do you think? You just think, man, I just have to cut out all of my fun. Life isn't going to be that fun anymore. But just imagine you having that fun inside the dopamine detox. Inside the dopamine detox, you doing the activities and you having fun with your life and actually making progress. Now, I'm just going to give an overview of these principles, and in the protocol I'm going to show you how you can actually implement these things, what actions you need to take inside the protocol and inside those 7 days and beyond the 7 days for you to actively implement it. So the first element is fun. Genuinely give yourself the permission to have fun within the dopamine detox, with the actions you're taking, with the things that you're doing. And of course, I know this, that discipline, there are two sides of the coin. One is when you're enjoying, you're motivated, you're enjoying the activity, and one where you're not really enjoying it, but then you show up anyways. That's discipline. When you're doing the hard work, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. But then I know discipline is the necessity, even when you don't feel like you have to go and do the work. But then don't make my mistake. Don't go into the David Goggins mindset and then just prevent yourself. Just give yourself a reminder to have fun with the process. And I'm going to show you what are all other stuff that you can do that are fun in the dopamine detox. The second thing, you want to use this as a tool for change. But then what is that change? And in the dopamine detox protocol, I'll get in a lot more detail into this in the protocol part. Ask yourself, what kind of a person do you want to be? What is the change that you want? What if, imagine you're building your ideal character avatar. You're building your character. What kind of a person do you want to be? What work do you have to do to go to that person? And imagine this. Imagine you have a sense of direction. You have your goals that you want to achieve. But not only that, you have a daily timetable. You have a daily routine. You know what are the stuff that you need to do every single day in order to make progress towards your goal. Imagine you had that level of understanding on your own direction. And that is what we are going to do in the protocol as well. When we get to the third step, the second element that we need to master in order to use this as a vehicle for change is the direction and the dopamine detox timetable. I got this one, the timetable one, from Hamza Ahmed. Go check him out. He's a nice YouTuber. And then the third thing, this happens when you master the first thing and second thing. When you realize that you don't need the stimulating activities for you to have a little bit of fun, and that you realize your direction that you want to move towards, the person that you want to become. Then the third thing, and listen to this carefully, is that it isn't about the 7 days. It isn't about the challenge anymore. You get into the mindset and you start living in the dopamine detox. Live the detox. And when we are implementing this in the protocol, I will tell you what are the things that you need to do after the detox so that you can proceed to take away, when you have created the blank slate for yourself with the detox. Now, I'll also tell you what you have to do so you can proceed to use that blank slate to build up your life on top of it. And now, we are getting to the third part, the detailed protocol itself. The protocol itself will consist of 3 parts. One is the stuff that you have to do in the protocol, which is the protocol. And the second will be the setup. What do you have to do before you start the dopamine detox in order to make sure that you actually go through with it properly. And then the third is where we implement the principles of change inside the dopamine detox. Getting through the protocol, you can see the stuff that I have written, right? No social media, obvious. No Instagram, no Snapchat, no whatever, Facebook, whatever social media apps that you use. Nothing. Cut it out completely. No video games, obvious. And then you will also have to cut out Discord. Discord or the groups that you end up chatting with your friends, you end up going on playing games with them. That also has to be something that you cut out. Third thing is no time pass texting. Now, even in the detox, you will have to use things like WhatsApp for certain case scenarios where, because that's where you get your notes, that's where you get your education stuff. You will have to use that, but then don't use WhatsApp or any texting app for that matter for time pass reason, for chatting with your friends, for chatting with the people in your class, the people that you want to talk to. No, just cut it out. What you are allowed to do is that if you may have that one friend or two friends in your mind who are trying to be productive, who are on the same path as you of self-improvement, you can feel free to just call them, speak with them, and just have that, actually get them to do the dopamine detox along with you. And you can call each other, keep each other accountable, make sure that the other person goes through with it, and just chat with each other about your journeys. That is allowed, but then no time pass texting, except when it's a friend that you're doing the challenge with them. And after that, no junk or stimulating food that you just eat because it feels good. I know that this is the tasty, delicious, unhealthy food. You're gonna have to cut it out. No television, no anime, no movies, no whatever you watch on the TV for entertainment, none of that. And again, just take a second, think with me. What is a source of pleasure, of stimulation, of entertainment that you have that I haven't mentioned on the board? That also comes under the protocol. You have to cut that out also. I just wrote down the major things, and these two you can take with a bit more nuance. No YouTube. You can use it in a right way for you to educate yourself, for you to learn, for you to develop yourself, but not in the protocol, not inside the dopamine detox. After the dopamine detox, you can start incorporating some things, such as YouTube, such as podcasts, such as that. YouTube or podcasts? I'm not sure. Okay. No YouTube or podcasts inside the dopamine detox protocol. But then after that, you can start watching educational YouTube videos, and you can start watching podcasts. And inside the detox, no fiction books. For most of us here, reading fiction is entertainment. Let's just get that clear. It does have some better benefits, right? Your English will improve, all that stuff is there. But then the primary reason is we are entertaining ourselves with it. And for most of us, we are not at a fact where reading fiction is going to be a very useful thing of our time. So just cut it out. But the thing with non-fiction is that if you are somebody who doesn't read non-fiction much, who doesn't read the actual educational books that will help you develop, then again, you can spend a lot of your time in the detox doing this, reading non-fiction. But then if you're somebody who already spends a decent amount of time reading this stuff, then in the detox, what you do is that you be more intentional with the time. Maybe you just schedule an hour or 2 hours at the end of your day for you to do your reading. But in the rest of your day, you just go more into that non-consuming state. You just go more into the state where you're taking action on the things that you care about. So that is that nuance there with the last 2 points. But all the other things and some things that come to your mind, right? Some sources of pleasure that come to your mind that I haven't mentioned, you have to strictly cut it out. Now, oh my God, I have to do all of this. I have to cut all of this out. Oh no, how will I be able to do it? I got your back. I'll guide you through the process. What do you have to do before you start the detox? There are 2 things actually to make sure that you actually go through with it. Number 1, number 2. The first thing that you have to do is go into the description where I link you some good app blockers and I'll tell you which all app blockers are for what purpose, what use. I'll just link a short paragraph or something in the description that you can just check out and install and set up those app blockers. Set up, right? Just write down what are the major sources of entertainment and stimulations that you want to cut out. Just write the protocol. For you, it may be slightly different than how it is for somebody else. That's fine. Write it down and then think, how are you going to go about cutting every single thing out? How are you going to do it? And for some things, right, like apps, like social media, for things like that, you can use blockers. Stuff on your PC, stuff on your mobile, everything. I link the things that I found helpful in the description, but do your own research. Find some apps that you like, that you find useful. That's the thing. The app blockers. And this in the digital space, but in more of your real life, maybe you just want to throw out some of your junk food. Maybe you want to do that. Adjusting your environment. Now, of course, you can't ignore my spelling. I know it's wrong. Of course, you can't just remove everything out of your sight, because that's just not the way the world works. There will be times that you get tempted and you have to use and train your willpower, train your discipline to just stay in the process. Use that as opportunities where you just feel tempted to go and do that thing, but then you take a breath and then you restrain yourself from it. Now, second thing that you do is the people. When you're going to start the detox, which is ideally as soon as possible, ideally it's tomorrow and you do the setup today, go to your family and tell them about this. Go to your family and tell them that you're doing the detox, that you're cutting out these so and so things. Show them the list of everything that you're cutting out, except the things that you don't want them to know that you're doing in the first place. Just show it to them. Show the things and just tell it to them. Tell them that I need your help for you to make sure that I go through with the process. And no family member is going to say, oh my god, bro, oh my god, I don't want you to do good and I don't want you to improve yourself. Oh no, get out of my house. No one's going to say that. Of course they're going to be helpful. Of course they're going to be supportive. You're finally starting to take action. So use the people. Tell your family about the detox and ask them to keep you accountable. And that's when ask them, even with the app blockers, right? With the app blockers, there are some features where your family can set a PIN code for the app blocker, and you need to ask them to put the PIN code when you're using things like WhatsApp for texting people. Use your brains and use your family. And another thing that you can do is just do this challenge with a friend. And sometimes, again, your family, if you use them the right way, they can really help to make sure you're doing the protocol properly. And the friends, when you call, just maybe call the friend a few minutes every day, and just keep each other accountable. Ask them how their day went, and they ask you how your day went. You just keep each other updated as you guys are going through the protocol together. That's how you productively use friends. And now, probably the most important part, you have set it up today, you are going to set it up this today, and then you're going to follow through the protocol tomorrow. But then inside the protocol and after the protocol, how can you use it as a tool for change rather than it being just a challenge? Now, we covered a few important principles before, and now here we covered the setup, and now here we are going to see how to implement this. The first thing I told you, right? The fun and how to go through with the fun. Remember, you are being in a state where you are very unstimulated. You're cutting out the things that are entertaining you, stimulating you. You're cutting them out. Your brain is in that detoxed state. So now when you do the habits that will make you, the happiness habits that will end up making you feeling more happy, these are good habits like exercise, like gratitude journaling, meditation. You go out into nature, you take a walk, you get some sunlight, you take care of your sleep properly. Just make a list of whatever I said. These are the most important things for your happiness. And now ideally you're talking with a friend who's also trying to be productive. You made a good friendship, a person who hopefully will improve you as a person. These things what ends up being fun. First things is the habits. The habits that add happiness to your life. Can you just see how these stuff is going to be different from going onto Instagram and starting to scroll? Just, I don't know, go take out your cycle, go for a cycling, go for a walk, maybe do some exercises in the park, I don't know, go join a gym or something. And that brings us to the second thing that you can do inside the dopamine detox that will end up being fun is IRL video games. Now, you do have to cut out the video games, but what you do instead is that you end up taking action. You end up working on some areas of your life. You end up working on a skill, on a project, on a game, on a YouTube channel, on a business. This is why you're doing the focused, deep work on the activities, on the tasks and the skills that you care about the most, and you're actually leveling up and making progress and getting results in them. Your life becomes like a video game. Now, and also, yes, if you want more information on the happiness habits, I'll link a course in the description called The Science of Wellbeing, where you can get more information on that. An asterisk to all of this is that, yes, give yourself the permission to have fun, but then when you are taking action at the level that you are going to be right now, there will be a lot of times that you just don't feel like it. You just don't feel like doing the exercise, where you just don't feel like working, and you really feel like going and doing that entertainment stimulating activity. And just use that as an opportunity to train your willpower, train your discipline, to put yourself through that feeling of shit. And you will grow, and it is probably a lifelong process. Which brings us on to the second aspect, which is your direction. We already talked about this. And then how do you get it? This is how you go about it. First things first, in the dopamine detox, when you are cutting out the source of stimulation, you are going to realize that you have so much free time. You have so much free time, you have so much free energy, you have a lot of focus back in your brain. So, where do you use it? First things first, take out a journal and write down what is the change you want to make on yourself. Who is the person you want to be? What are things you would like to learn? What are the things that you would like to have? Things you would like to do, people you would like to meet, places that you would like to see. Just write down your dreams, stuff you'll be able to see, stuff you want to be able to do, projects you want to make. What are those things? Just make a huge list of your dreams, your goals, whatever things that you think may be cool. And once you have that, this will take some time obviously. Once you have that, pick the 3 to 5 most important ones. And those are your goals. For now, they can change. They will change obviously. But for now, these are things that you think will be cool if you're able to do. You can start working on them. You can start making progress on them. And that's one aspect of the direction. But then once you have that, once you have your top dreams, then what you want to do is to make a timetable for yourself. And what should you do in this timetable? 2 things, right? Just a timetable of your ideal day on self-improvement, ideal day on improving yourself. The work you wake up, the work that you do, you go to school, and make 2 of these, right? One for your school day and one for your holiday. When you wake up, the things that you do, the work that you do, the routines that you do, the good habits that you incorporate. Maybe you meditate, maybe you gratitude journal, maybe you do morning sunlight, whatever you do, make your ideal day routine. Make the timetable. And of course, you won't be able to perfectly follow it every single day. But then what this gives you is you know exactly what you need to be doing on every single one of those times. Or you at least have more clarity on what is the stuff you need to be doing. And this stuff makes it a lot easier to live and go through with that dopamine detox protocol. And the third thing is, what do you do after the detox? Detox after detox. Just the simple point is just go with it. The detox has given you a blank slate. You have cut the things out. You started taking the habits. You had started doing the good habits. You got clear on your dreams. You started making a timetable for yourself, and you're taking action on the timetable. You're taking action on your life. Just go with it. But then after the 7 days, just try to live in the dopamine detox. But then the only change you want to make is that bring back the learning. Bring back intentionally using YouTube videos for you to learn about the aspects of life in which you want to develop, about probably business, about YouTube. Just use it to learn. Go watch long form podcasts. Like schedule it in intentionally. You don't want to be you don't want to be learning and spending all of your time consuming learning and educational content and not taking action. So schedule it in intentionally after you go through with the 7 days. But in the 7 days, even YouTube you are going to be cutting out. So yeah, do detox after detox. The only change you want to make is with your YouTube, your learning, and you still want to be doing the non-fiction books. Non-fiction. And that is the protocol, right? So right now what you have to do is that after this video ends, or today, what you want to do is that you want to do the setup activities. Hopefully when you are went through this video, you took notes. And if you haven't taken notes, you still have the video, right? You can just scroll through it, just note down the parts which are important, like the protocol, like the setup, the tasks that you have to do, the happiness habits, so on. Just take a note and get started. Today, do the setup so that you do the dopamine detox tomorrow. Today, set up the app blockers. Today, go and have that talk with your family where you're telling them that you're going to be doing the dopamine detox. And this is just one side of the coin. And this is what you're going to do today and then over the next 7 days. But then, when into the specifics of the dreams that you have, if some of those dreams are the skills that you want to learn, there are some things, there are a few strategies that you need to be doing. And if you don't use the strategies, you will be making a lot of mistakes in trying to level up your skills. And I have this video on how you can absolutely master any skill, or at least get close. So just don't forget, I'm rooting for you, and take action.